So this E3 slash EA Play, it's still kind of lost my voice here. Comparing it to other years, for racing games, this year is probably one of the best years in a long time. We've got Need for Speed, which is not only stepping up and fixing everything that was pretty much complained about in the previous game, and then adding a whole lot more we didn't expect, and the crew doing the exact same of like, oh, this is what we expect, you know, more cars, more whatever, generic, different area, but no, boom, we get that and a whole lot more. Different area still kind of counts, it's the whole USA, but it's been like changed quite a lot in many areas. But again, I'm gonna get to play it later today or tomorrow for you guys, and I'll be sure to release a video on that. But one other game that I haven't spoken about just yet, that was announced at E3, we all knew it was coming, Forza Motorsport 7, and that's what we're going to talk about today, because that's one of the games in where I was less excited about, because I didn't particularly think they were going to add too much, but I was pleasantly surprised. They added a bit more than I would expect. If you want to know, the basic details are 30 locations, which they say is the most there's been in a Forza game, 700 cars, which is a pretty big car list. That's one thing Forza actually dominates, is the car count. But other than that, it's pretty much dynamic weather, which is something, honestly, I've got to say, dynamic weather is something I did not expect them to add. I expected, you know, for it to be the same in where you select it. I don't know whether the fact it actually is 100% tunable in yourself, like you get to change the settings yourself. I'm assuming you would, because Forza aims for like a simulation crowd. And then you've got the dynamic lighting. I don't think they said dynamic day on day and night cycle. They said dynamic lighting, which I would assume means the lighting does change. Say there's a clouds in the sky, that kind of thing. And the time is set locked still. Now, a lot of people are confused. Is this game playable on the original Xbox One? Yes. Don't worry, you can play it on your Xbox One, but you can also play it on the new Xbox One X, which was announced also with the release date and a price and everything at this E3, which is something, honestly, is probably my steal of the Xbox show, other than the EA title that was announced, which was pretty much supposed to be what Destiny was, but Destiny didn't do what Destiny was supposed to do. We got that from EA instead. Thanks, EA. Honestly, EA are doing great this E3 and for the past few E3s. Anyway, going off topic, Forza. So, am I hyped for Forza? I mean, I'm excited. From what I saw in the gameplay we first saw with the Porsche GT2, which was announced with the game, which was pretty awesome, I'm not gonna lie. They got a partnership with Porsche, if you may remember. But anyway, so they were doing a race in like the desert. Honestly, I didn't know what the game was until I actually saw the cars and stuff. The intro was a little bit confusing, but when we actually got to the actual racing, it looked pretty awesome. The only thing I have to mention is the camera shake looks really weird. That was something a lot of people complained about in Need for Speed, and the camera looked really funky, and they said you can change it. I'm pretty sure in Forza you'll be able to turn it off if you want, but on third person, it does seem a little bit out of place. I'm all for camera shake, in where if you go fast, you get a little bit of shake, but in where it's like, it looks like the car was driving at 20 miles an hour, and the camera was just like all over the place like this, which is a little bit confusing. Not for my taste. Hopefully I can turn that off, but also keep the standard camera shake that's always been in Forza, that always works pretty well. That's one thing Forza beat Gran Turismo in my opinion, is actually having the feel of speed, the sense of speed, the shaking of the camera, the movement of the camera when you turned. It wasn't just locked solid to the back of the car. Gran Turismo's now fixed that, and Forza's stepping up a notch, adding that weird shaky camera. Again, I haven't really played too much of the game, so I can't really comment on how it feels when you actually play, but from what I've heard and what I have played, it's pretty similar to how Forza Motorsport 6 was, as you'd imagine, just tweaked a little bit more stable. And we do seem to go a step back to Forza Motorsport 5 with the understeer aspect. The cars understeer to all hell. Even the Porsche, the GT2 understeered a lot, which is a little bit confusing because obviously Porsches are usually designed to be like middle, kind of midway, everything's balanced, perfect. But it didn't feel like that for some reason. But I mean, it still didn't understand, like, into the point of what I didn't like. I wasn't able to drive it, but what it was is like, it felt almost as if the car was restricting me from turning like Forza Motorsport 5 in general did. It's, even with muscle cars and stuff, like, no. But overall, the handling is better. I just have a few nitpicks. I mean, at the same time, to be completely fair, a lot of the assists are on. They have added, that's another thing to mention, new assists to make it easier for people to drive. They haven't mentioned what those are, but it's made it so it's easy for people to jump into the game, which might be interesting. I mean, I might give them a go myself, because I'm not a particularly massive fan of Forza handling, just for the fact that it tries to be simulation, but I don't feel it's simulation enough to me yet compared to other titles available on the market. And honestly, like, it's good. It's a good handling model. I just think that it does need some tweaking sometimes, and most of that, to be fair, is to do with the car's tuning itself. Anyway, Forza Motorsport, am I excited for it? A little bit. I mean, I'm not massively excited for it. I say this every year. Forza Motorsport 7 is not particularly the game I'm most looking forward to. Not the most hyped game I'm looking forward to. Horizon, on the other hand, is much more like my thing, because open world, semi-arcade is still very similar handling model, but Motorsport just doesn't seem to add much. They added more than I expected them to. One weird thing was, like, they were focused on the fact that they've got women drivers in the game now, and you can, like, customize your drivers, which is pretty cool. But women drivers, you had it in the last game. Like, maybe you just didn't do a big enough push for it, and you're like, oh, well, yeah, you can be a woman. You don't, just in case you didn't know, you can be a woman in the game. Like, I don't know. I honestly think if the Xbox One X didn't come with, like, alongside this Forza Motorsport game, it might have a little bit of trouble pushing out what actually changed. They've added dynamic, like, weather throughout the race. You can change the weather changes throughout the race, few more cars, few more tracks, and that would have been it. You know, they wouldn't have been able to have a big enough push. So they're kind of lucky with the Xbox One X. The next game, honestly, I don't know what they're going to do. This is the Motorsport game. Horizon, hopefully, with the Horizon game they're working on right now, if you're watching Turn 10, hopefully you are. For the next Horizon game, or Playground games, that you're going to add a little bit more than what we're expecting. I'm expecting a new map, new cars. That's pretty much it. You know, we got body kits as, like, the only major feature added in the last game, and there were about 10 of them. So, to wrap it up, Forza Motorsport 7, I'm going to get it. I'm going to play it. You guys will probably do the same if you enjoy racing and you have an Xbox. It's just one of the racing games to go for. It did change the least compared to the other games available this year. And honestly, I prefer myself the open world action adventure games. And as said, if you're worried about the handling model or the other games and that kind of thing, I'm going to play The Crew tomorrow. And Need for Speed, we have some behind the scenes stuff for you coming in a week or so. So don't worry about that. You're going to hear about that. And I can promise you the handling has improved tenfold on every other game as well as Forza. So which racing game are you most excited about? Let me know down in the comments. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for some footage on The Crew 2. I'm hyped. I'll see you soon. Peace.